Hi everyone, this is Gary D. Tonicourt from MoreThanASnapshot.com. Today I wanted to do a first look at On1's new 2019 version. In the past I've had On1 2017, and I have to be honest, I never really liked it and I never really used it. And the reason wasn't because of what, plugins they had, what capabilities they had. It was basically because when I installed it on my computer, it kept making my computer crash. And I guess as the updates went on, it got a little bit better, but stability was a real issue for me, and so I never really used it very much. The other thing that was difficult was they had all kinds of different modules, and you had to take your photo from one module to the next to do different things. And that was really a pain because it slowed things down. So I was glad to see the new version, On1 2019, has done away with all of those modules. You still have the capability, but they've kind of restructured everything so that you can just work on your picture and click on different buttons, but not have to jump into a new module. So what I want to do today is just kind of show you around and give you an idea of how it works with On1 2019. So let's head over to the computer and let's see what's going on. All right, so first of all, I have one photo selected here, but I kind of wanted to show you the grid view. This is sort of like their organizer, their library mode. You do have a method of ranking photos and liking photos, and you also have, if I scroll this out, presets, and you have a browse function. And the browse function is real nice. It quickly lets you get to different places in your computer, different hard drives and things where you can find your photos. You also have some quick buttons here to get to different places, cloud storage or hard drives or whatever it might be. So it is nice and fast to locate the different places where your photos are going to be held. You do have all of your EXIF data and keywords and all of that stuff available on the right. Now, once you've selected a photo, you can go right to this side panel, and there is a button here that says Edit Photo. If I click on that, it will take me over to the editor. And you can see here I have a bunch of to work with, and we have a histogram, and then the nice thing is that you can also see that there are layers. So one of the things that this program does that's kind of nice is it kind of does the raw editing and the things that you might do in Photoshop all in one. So here you can add as many layers as you want. You can add other images on top of these layers. You can have it align images. All of those kinds of things can be done just like what you would do in Photoshop. And then here we have the different tabs for what kind of work you can do. So the Develop tab obviously is where you would do most of your raw workflow, and it has all the basic things that you would do in Lightroom. Next, there is an Effects tab, and here is where you can add filters. And here you can see like antique, black and white, bleach bypass, and so on. There is a whole bunch of filters, and you can get some cool effects with these filters. And then we have portrait mode, and this obviously is not a portrait, but if it was, it would detect the face, and it gives you little tools to detect the eyes and lips, and you can whiten teeth and eyes, and you can smooth out skin and do all of those kinds of things. I can't really show it to you because I don't happen to have a portrait handy. And then there is the local button, and here you can make all kinds of adjustments locally by using a brush or some other tool. Again, sort of similar to what you would do with the local adjustments in Lightroom. So in a way, it combines the best of both worlds. You get the options that you could do in a Lightroom-like program, and the options that you could do in a Photoshop-like program. Plus, On1 has their own special things that are really nice. They have this resize tool, and what it does is if you need to blow up a photo or make a photo smaller, it gives you a nice easy way to resize the photo, and it does it in such a way to give you the best quality that you can get. So that's a nice feature. It also has this export function, and first of all, it's going to render the image and then give me whatever export options that there are. All right, so once you've clicked the export button, there's all sorts of little tabs that you can work on. You can change the size of the photo. If you want, you could put a watermark on the photo. You can set the output sharpening, tiling. You could do a gallery wrap. You can tell it what kind of file type you want to output, and all of the typical things like naming the file and so on. So I'm not going to output this file because I haven't done anything to it. There was something else I wanted to show you. I guess it's on the other tabs. Let me go back to Browse for a minute. A couple of the really nice new things they have. The icons are over here. You can use this program to make panos. So again, something you can do in Lightroom or Photoshop, but now you can also do it here. HDR, and what's really cool is the focus stacking. So if you want to try doing focus stacking for maybe landscape photography or macro photography, you have that option there. So let's go back to develop, and I'll just maybe do a quick edit on this photo and see how it works, just to get an impression of its, maybe its speed, its sharpness, and its capabilities. So first thing I'll do, and I usually do, will be to crop the image. So we have a crop tool here, and just like with most crop tools, you have different things like leveling and different aspect ratios. So let's say let's try a 16:9 aspect ratio for the heck of it. And I want to crop in quite a bit because these birds were far away. And I kind of like seeing the point of grass here, and I want to give the birds some room to fly. All right. Let's see. Can we tilt if we put it on the side? Yes. If you put the cursor further out, you can tilt up and down. So I'm going to tilt it just a little bit to make it feel a little straighter. All right. I think I like that. So I'll hit enter, and there is my crop. Now, take a look at the histogram. The highlights look like they're pretty good. We're maybe clipping a little bit in the blacks, and I'm fine with that. Let's move down to our sliders. First of all, we have profiles. So there are On1 profiles. So as I roll over them, you get a preview of what the profile would do to it. I don't think I would use On1's color profile. I would prefer to use my camera's profile. You can see here the colors changed dramatically when I went to camera landscape. So the colors are nice and vivid there, but maybe that's a bit too much. Let's see, neutrals to, that's not a portrait camera standard. In this case, I like camera landscape. I think overall the exposure is pretty good. I might take the highlights down just a touch, just so that I want to make sure, maybe the whites just a touch too. I just want to make sure that I'm not clipping on the white feathers. So if I click this little arrow here, I should get some sort of indication if I was clipping. Let me bring the exposure up. Yeah, so if it's clipping, it would show up in red. And Well, I don't see a color for the underexposed, but that's all right. So double clicking on the slider does reset it to 0 like most programs. Also, you can type in a number, sort of like you can do in Lightroom. And the adjustments are coming up fairly quickly, especially since my computer is under a load right now. It's not only using the program, but there is a screencasting program recording. So the adjustments are happening fairly quickly for the load that this computer is under. Now my black point, I want to push the blacks a little bit, not that far. All right, and then I'll check out contrast. Actually, I know they have a tool for contrast, so I'm not going to do anything with contrast yet, and they also have curves, so I'm just going to leave that alone. The temperature of the file, let's just see for a second if we hit auto how that will change the photo. All right, I didn't see much of an adjustment, but the colors do look fine. We can try the dropper tool and see if I click on the bird, if that makes a difference. It did cool it off quite a bit. All right. I think now that it's a bit too blue, maybe a little bit too saturated, so I'll have to take that down. And let's see, it's got a haze slider, so let's see if that has any effect. All right, for this photo, I don't think it's going to do much. It's got a structure slider. All right, that's kind of like clarity, so I'll just give it a small amount of structure. I think the white balance is okay for right now. Reduce vibrance on skin. All right, purity. Let's see, purity of highlights. All right, it tells us what it does. It reduces the color saturation in the highlights to remove a color cast. All right, I didn't really see a color cast, so. All right, the bottom shadow slider, though, did take away some of the excess blue color in the water. We want some blue colors. Noise reduction, we're going to try 30, 15, 20. And I'm going to move the detail up to 15 here as well. Just because those are some typical settings that I might use in Lightroom. So let's zoom in here and take a look at the detail. And I'm seeing a lot of nice white feather detail. Even the little buffle head is not overexposed. And this one is nice and detailed as well. So I think that that is good. There's a lens correction tab. It has identified it as my Canon 400mm f/5.6 with a 1.4 teleconverter, and that is correct. I don't know why it's saying no lens match here. Default. So let me see if I can pick it from a list. It seems to have identified it correctly, so I don't know why it didn't just put it in automatically. Here's 400 f/5.6 with a 1.3 extender. So that should make the automatic adjustments necessary. I don't think I have any distortion to worry about in this image. Or any vertical transforming or anything like that. I want to take away a little bit of vibrance because the water got really blue, so I'm going to take that down just a little bit. All right, now let's head over to effects and see what filter I think would be all right for this photo. We already have lots of color. All right, so they do have curves for contrast, and they have a dynamic contrast. So let's try dynamic contrast. So we have natural, and then surreal. Nope, we don't want that. Soft. And there's more options here. Textured enhancer, and so on. I want to go with natural. And then if I wanted to, I could mess around with all of these sliders, but I want to keep this quick. There's also, for every layer, an opacity slider. So you can see that adjustment is having quite a bit of effect on the sharpness of this image even. So I'll go all the way up on this one. All right, let's see if there are any other filters that might look interesting. There is a noise reduction filter. We already applied noise reduction. Just for the heck of it, let's see what's different. It's just more sliders. It seems to be more of the same, except it gives you some other options here. I'd have to play around with that to see, but I think I've already done it on this photo. I'm not going to do it again. Photo filter, you can add some tone, some sharpening, skin retouching, sun. Let's try maybe some sunshine. That'll warm up the photo just a bit. So there's natural, strong, glow. All right, I want to keep it natural looking, so I will leave it there. All right, so I'm going to try making something a little bit brighter. And I can adjust my brush size with the bracket keys like on many programs. So I'm just going to hit some highlights on the grass. The effect is coming in pretty strong, even though I have only a small amount. And with this tool, it's a little bit laggy. So I'm just going to put in a little bit, and since this is a layer on top of another layer, I am going to take the opacity down a bit. All right, let's try darken. I would have had to add a new adjustment because that's just darkening the adjustment that I already made. All right. Let's see if adding a new adjustment lets me now darken. All right, so that's too strong. All right, that's much more subtle. So I'll just darken these little areas here. Okay, so here you can see the mask that it was making. And let's see, is there a way to do before and after? I guess only on each individual adjustment. So on the layers, if I click that little blue spot, or this little blue spot, all right, that's before, and that's with the burning effect. So it was a little slow to come in, but like I said, my computer's also recording at the same time. So I'll go back to develop, and that is it. That is going to be the final image that I'm going to go with. And I have to say that it was fairly easy, and all the tools were fairly intuitive. The only thing that I started to run into trouble with was the local adjustments. They were a little bit laggy, but that could be that my recording software is slowing this down. So I would not count that as a reason until I've tested it without my recording software running at the same time. So the other thing that I found interesting, I've seen with other people using this program, is the sort of like a magic eraser tool. And I think it's this fix tool, Perfect Eraser. So let's zoom in and try it just for the heck of it. I do like the little buffle head that's here, but let's see if we can zoom in. Oops. And we'll try the magic eraser. And then there's the retouching brush, clone stamp tool, and then of course you can adjust the size and everything. So I'm gonna try this magic eraser first. I'm gonna paint over this buffle head. So we'll see how good of a job that it can do all on its own. All right, so it's processing. Not bad. It has a couple of spots here that it missed, but I'll just go over it one more time and see what it does the second time. And that did pretty well. The magic eraser or perfect eraser, whatever you want to call it, that seems to work really well. All right, so I'm going to export this final image so that you can see the final result when I post it on the blog post at morethanasnapshot.com. And if you're interested in more of these videos, please subscribe and like this video. And again, this has been Gary D. Tonicourt for morethanasnapshot.com.